get the higher resolution? No, but VGA only has 800 to 600. Well, it's good enough. Yes.
When I did the deck displays, I thought, oh, it's not connected. Oh, it is.
Yes. No, it's already. I think it's okay. It should be fine. That's okay. No, it's cut off.
The deck display. Okay.
It's only 800 by 600. I can try to turn off mirror. Maybe that. So. It only has 88. It only shows me 800.
Wow, your Mac has
That should do it, right? Oh, it does?
Yeah.
1920? By 1200. But it doesn't do it. Also, okay, VGA. 1920. Well, it doesn't show anything. Okay. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, can I start? Well, there's no official person here, so I'll wait a second. Okay, well, then I introduce myself. My name is Helmut Satzger, and I'm from the Leibniz Supercomputing Center in Munich, Germany. And I'm very happy to be able to talk to you today here. So thank you very much for inviting me. And I realized I chose a quite boring title for my talk. So next year you'll have something about flying robots. This year I hope that just having the word super in front of computer would be enough to raise your attention. So I will present you a couple of things that we have done over the last year at the Leibniz Supercomputing Center that has to do with Blender. And that's not working. Okay, so 10 seconds about me. I studied physics in Munich, worked at the company for a while. For various reasons, went back to university, did my PhD. With the title Studying the Initial Steps of Peptide Folding with Ultra-Fast Spectroscopy. And here you have a snapshot of me with my experiment. So every one of those 1,000 little knobs has to be tweaked to do the experiment. After my PhD, I did 3 years of postdoc in Canada. And since 2008, I work at the High Performance Computing Group at the Leibniz Supercomputing Center. And I support users from the life science community and work on visualization and things like that. What is the Leibniz Supercomputing Center? I brought a couple of snapshots. You see our office building. We have a picture of our current machine. It was installed in 2006, and by the time it was number 10 in the world. Here you have a picture of our compute cube. That's a building with an edge length of 35 meters. and it houses only computers, so there's no one actually living there. It's just our computer. Currently, it's getting doubled, so we have a twin cube by the end of next year for the upcoming petaflops system that will be called SuperMOOC. What will I be talking about? First off, it's Frankie on the Moon. Then, we have, then we're going to have some fun with the Blender game. Thank you. We're going to have some fun with the Blender game engine connected to a supercomputer, which this guy will hear double for today. Steer the Blender game engine via web browser. And I will also, the last 2 minutes, talk a little bit about a workshop we're having at our institute about scientific 3D animations. So, Frankie on the Moon. This is a picture from Linz, Austria. They have the Ars Electronica Center. And whoever of you hasn't been there, I urge you to go there. Book the next cheap flight. It's a fantastic science museum with hands-on experiments. It's quite new and it's quite fantastic. And they invited us to give a show at the Ars Electronica Festival, actually already in 2009. So we were part of the Deep Space Nightline Science Cinema, and we were going to show life science on the big screen. So they have a 16:9 aspect ratio monitor, and they took it quite literally, so it's 16 meters wide and 9 meters high. Which actually makes for a quite nice screen. What you see there is my colleague Ferdinand doing the Da Vinci thing, but this time not with God, but with a biomolecule. So we were invited there to show supercomputing for the masses. The experiment we did was called in silico experiments live from LRZ. So we took part of our supercomputer in Munich to run a big molecular dynamics simulation, an atomic simulation of this kind of molecule. In Munich, transfer the data to Linz and do a live 3D stereoscopic presentation in Linz. They also invited us to give a behind-the-scenes talk to tell people what it all was about. And at some point, I learned that this behind-the-scenes talk was also going to happen in the deep space room. So I thought, you know, what could I do with a 16:9 meter stereoscopic 3D screen? Well, you could go for PowerPoint, right? So I thought, well, I heard about this game, Yo Frankie, and it's an open source game. So I don't know, I had the strange idea to maybe adapt it to do a 3D stereoscopic PowerPoint version. So I found this video online on YouTube that, like in 4 minutes, explained how the level editor worked. And I promise you, I had no previous experience. I saw this video and I thought, that doesn't look too complicated. So I sat down, and after, I guess, about 2 hours or so, I had the first demo, and I showed it around. People liked it, so we did what the big guys do. We went to, you know, concept art stage, and that's the actual concept art I did. So we went for LRZ land, then we have VMD country, and in the end we have protein kingdom. So we did it, we went to Linz, and we basically only had half an hour in the morning to test the setup. So the first time we turned it on, you see that you have sort of a double picture, but it's horizontally displaced. That's actually bad for 3D. So we thought, oh my God, doesn't work. But then, of course, Windows reboot always helps. So a couple of minutes later, we have 3D in all his stereoscopic 3D beauty. And whoever modeled it, I can tell you, once Frankie is 2 meters and 20 tall, he actually does look even scarier than he usually does. That's a picture of the audience. I don't know why it's so dark. Hope you can see it. So everyone has the shutter glasses on for the 3D experience. This is a rendered still image. So you have this cartoon image of the protein. We put up some blackboards for explanation, and I modeled some quite ugly stones where I put some pictures as textures on to explain. Later on, we thought, just replace the grass texture and make it even more surreal. So we found some pictures of moon craters online, and so this is where we are now. We have Frankie on the moon. And I guess you don't take my word for it, you want to see it. So let's hope that this works. It takes a minute or so to boot up. Of course, I'm stupid, right? I didn't do any geometry optimization. I generated the molecule with my VMD application, just exported this wormhole and imported it into the game engine. It's huge polynomial, by far too many faces, but still works. So that was our startup screen. You've seen it already, a picture of our office building. We have these pedestals that Frankie can go up to. You have an aerial shot of our campus, and I used to do this. Oops. So on the top left hand of Frankie's shoulder, you can see our compute cube. It worked better the first time I did it. We go to the next stone, where we have a picture of our supercomputer. So take a few steps back. So our current machine, roughly 10,000 cores, 62 teraflops peak performance, 40 terabytes of RAM, Itanium 2-based Intel system with CC NUMA, a footprint of 24 by 12 meters, and about a megawatt of electrical power consumption. Of course, since there were children present, I had to make it safe, so I had to put both Mandys behind the fence so that they won't get hurt. Up here, we are here in, what did I call it? VMD country. So again, we have a picture of our compute cube, and it says compute in Garching, which is north of Munich. Then to demonstrate that the data is sent via the internet, we have this tube. Well, we all know the internet is a set of tubes. Actually, it's only one bendy tube. And the internet is connected to Linz, and we do the visualization there. To get a bit more precise what we did, I have another model. Again, a very rough model of our compute cube. We have the simulation program NAMD running there. The internet connects to our display, which is the deep space room in Linz, where we have VMD running for the visualization. Of course, the RAM also had to be put behind bars, because otherwise it would be far too dangerous. It's still dangerous because we have hot lava flowing. But Frankie's experienced. We're in a protein kingdom, and to show what we did, a little blackboard showing a small protein, ubiquitin. It's only about 700 atoms. You know maybe from chemistry that you can have these sphere representations, but you can also have the same protein in what's called the cartoon representation. It's actually 2 times the same protein, just in the left representation. It's far easier to see the actual structure. This becomes more and more important when you go to bigger proteins, like this toll-like receptor, which already has roughly 6,000 atoms, so it's about 10 times as big as the first one. It's important for the innate immune system. Don't go into any details, because we don't have time for that. The protein we chose for the simulation or for the demonstration is actually floating above us because it's so big. It's part of the innate immune system. It's a snapshot of a receptor in action of actually 2 toll-like receptors that recognize the presence of a virus, and it's about 14,000 atoms. To get up there, we have to go up the staircase. And when I did the presentation, I fell down here twice. So once I managed, I got quite spontaneous applause. So, well, I'm better this time. So we had the viewing platform And you see those kind of tire-like shapes, one on the left, one on the right. These are the two receptors. And in the middle, what looks like DNA actually is double-stranded RNA from a virus. This is actual data that was published in the magazine Science by the end of 2008, so it's quite recent data. So basically all the atomic coordinates are exact. We generated this cartoon representation, imported it into Blender, and unless someone corrects me, I think this is the first walkthrough stereoscopic 3D PowerPoint that was done. And I really thank the person responsible for incorporating quad buffered stereo into Blender, because we had just to type Blender Player -- I don't know, hardware page flip or something, and it just worked. So you guys, you are amazing. Okay. Well, so that's about Frankie. We're good for time. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, Frankie on the Moon. We, of course, took every opportunity to tell people about this. The first article we wrote strictly focused on the science part. So people didn't really dare to talk about the Frankie part. But then I was invited to give a talk, and the title was what scientists can make out of computer games, or what computer games can be used for when scientists get their hands on them. So that led to another publication, which actually was called Frankie in Wonderland. And it focused solely on Frankie. You probably recognize the pictures from before. Yeah, so that's for that. Now to something completely different. I come from a supercomputing center. Our current machine has about 10,000 cores. Our next machine will have on the order of 200,000 cores. So I am actually a multi-threaded person. So I was quite pleased to see that the Blender 2.5 supports more than 8 threads. I was kind of disappointed that it only supports 64. But whoever did the programming, this is probably can't read it, but that's a snapshot of a large A0 poster with, I think, 9,000 by 6,000 pixels and all ray tracing, nothing optimized, running on 64 cores. So down there you can see a processor load of 6,300 something. So whoever is interested to increase the thread counts, first I can tell you that 64 cores works. Next, send me a version with 512 cores, please. Because that's the machine we're currently running. You see here processor info, that's processor 511, and the others are up there. I actually couldn't make a screenshot of top because I couldn't get the font small enough. Okay, next live demo. We also want to use Blender as a front end for visualization. So the idea is basically you saw the static image of the protein in Protein Kingdom that Frankie can walk up to. Our vision, what we want to have is that once Frankie approaches the protein, then Blender connects to the simulation that runs on the supercomputer. And within the Frankie game, you can actually see the protein move, and the calculation is done on a supercomputer, and the updated coordinates are sent to the game engine, and you can enjoy them with Frankie. We've done that using sockets, network spaces, and what I'm going to show you is IMD. That stands for Interactive Molecular Dynamics. Yes. So that's next. So first off, I have to find my window. Okay. So in this terminal, I start the NAMD molecular dynamics simulation. It's only a small simulation because this guy can't handle too much. To show you how it normally looks like, this is this program that scientists use, VMD. And here I can say IMD connection, port 3000, and connect. And now you see carbon nanotubes in turquoise and water molecules that wobble above them, and some water is in the nanotubes. And if you watch the simulation long enough, then you can actually sometimes see a water molecule move through the nanotube. And what I want to do is do the same with the game engine. So just to be sure, start the simulation again. And so right now this is only a prototype. We have a student currently working for us and he actually already has a working demo. Unfortunately, there was some Python error, so it doesn't work on this computer right now. And the problem is that the game engine always captures the mouse. So hello mouse, there it is. So make it big. So what I can do is I press M and I get some sort of a head-up display. It's rendered to texture. I can press select IMD server. I have this molecule, localhost, port number, say choose, and I close it. I close the menu. And again, you have you can see the water atoms move. You can see the nanotubes. I can move around. I can zoom in and out. And well, you can imagine that this would look kind of cool if you have Frankie present there and you have sort of a virtual science museum with actual buttons that can be pressed. And what you see is actual science. So not something pre-animated, but really computed in real time in the background. Okay, move on. I have so many great things to show you. Oops, wrong button. Yeah, another thing. So we're looking into ways on how to remotely control Blender, and one way is to use sockets, network spaces, the IMD protocol. A student had another idea to use just set up a web server within the Blender game engine so that it can use just standard HTTP protocol to steer Blender. And again, a demo is called for. So same problem again, mouse is captured. Oops. Okay. Make this computer a little bit bigger. I go to my web server, I enter localhost. Then I get this very basic menu. Let's just make it bigger. How does this work? Okay. So you should be able to see. So I can just enter some scaling, press execute, and you see that the cube has been stretched. I can rotate it along different axes. Well, this is really just a first prototype to show a proof of principle. What is kind of funny is to see that the actual HTML is only a couple of lines. So that's basically it. Not much to see, actually. Okay, so we can also control Blender via HTTP. And I think I'm good on time. Just the last couple of minutes, experiences from a workshop that I've been, well, that mostly Andrea Weikert here is holding. I just assist her. So I had the idea that I'm a biophysics guy. It's so hard to get your message across. If you have a nice computer animation, it's so much more easy. So at the time when I was still a full-time scientist, I spent a couple of weeks to generate my own 3D animation, modeled everything in Blender. It was quite cumbersome. I'm not very good at this. So I thought, save people time. And in this workshop, we focus on importing our geometry from somewhere else. So I have 3 snapshots from the actual project. It's, again, a biomolecule. We generate the geometry in an outside program in VMD or in PyMol that I showed you before. We export the geometry in Vermel, for example, import it into Blender, make it nice and shiny. And in this case, this is a protein that we know exists in 2 states, in the closed form and in an open form, which makes it a very nice project for Blender, because in the actual visualization application, you can only watch one form or the other, but you can't see the transition, because you would actually have to simulate 2 proteins interacting with each other. However, in Blender, you can just add 2 bones and then animate the opening and closing of the protein. And so that makes it what I think a perfect test case. We generate the geometry externally, import it into Blender, do cleanup of the geometry, add assigned materials, etc. Just add 2 bones, make a very basic animation, but still create a stunning animation that is so much better than everything else your colleagues will have at the conference. It's a 2-day workshop. It's free for students and scientists. We held it 2 times already, and the next course is early January in 2011. We have a DVD with all the input files, the frames, the slides. I meant to bring some DVDs. I have them on my FTP server, so you can download the ISO image if you're interested. Unfortunately, for now, it's only in German. Apologize for that. And with that, I'm basically done.
Any questions?
Hi, I loved your work, really, all the applications. I was really curious about the VMD pipeline when you're exporting from the VMD to the Blender game engine. Are you actually exporting the geometry? Are you...
No, just coordinates.
Just coordinates, so the geometry were pre-loaded into the Blender game engine.
You remember I had the head-up display, and I say load PDB from IMD. So I have to tell which file that has the geometry. Basically, it's atomic coordinates and what type of atom. So if it's oxygen, carbon, nitrogen. So it reads this file, parses it, and then it draws a sphere for every atom. And after that, it only updates the coordinates of the spheres.
Okay. Pretty neat. Thanks.
I'm sure I'm going to talk a lot with this guy afterwards.
Okay, thank you very much. A short break, and then we have the next speaker. Luke, I think.